Good evening and welcome to Daily Red Devil for all of your latest Manchester United transfer news and talk. I hope everyone is doing well on this Tuesday evening. We're back with another massive show to bring you guys this evening. But before we jump into that, if you are enjoying the content at the moment, please do me a small favour, smash a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if this is your first time watching. Let's try and see 200 likes on today's video. On the show tonight, we are going to be reacting to a story that apparently Onana has been dropped by Cameroon and will not feature in their what's most likely going to be final game of the Africa Cup of Nations today, which is actually taking place right now. So I will keep you updated on the score of that game. We'll also be, of course, talking a bit about the game against Newport on Sunday, where apparently Altay Bayindir is going to start. I can't wait to see Altay Bayindir, just to say. I'm really, really excited about that. I know he's just a goalkeeper, but anyway, I'll save myself for that part of the show. We're also going to be talking about a story coming in from various different journalists in the UK this afternoon saying that apparently Al Nassr, obviously where Cristiano Ronaldo plays, are set to submit a bid for Casemiro and Wan-Bissaka. So we'll be talking about that. Also talking a little bit about a potential late Benzema loan deal. Honestly, there's so much to get into on the show this evening. We're also going to be talking a bit about Chua promoting. Also a bit about Mason Greenwood. A story has just broken about Mason Greenwood's future as well. So much to get into. As always, I invite you to have your say on all things Manchester United. Get in the comment section. Let me know your thoughts. I always read through all the comments. I always like to see what you have to say as Man United fans. So get involved and let me know what your thoughts are. Just a really, really quick one, right, before we start the show. Dan Gore, the very, very promising player that's come through the Youth Academy, has officially joined Port Vale, the League One side, on loan until the end of the season. So I'm sending all of my best to Dan Gore. I hope he goes to Port Vale. I hope he impresses. And I hope that, in the next couple of years, we see him in and around the first team, because we've seen the route to the first team with Kobbie Mainoo. And I think that Dan Gore is, from what I've seen of him and what I've heard from people who watch the youth every single game, he's a very, very good player. So hopefully this loan move for Dan Gore goes well. But that has now been confirmed. Dan Gore has joined League One side Port Vale on a season-long loan. So he'll be back at the club in June. I just wanted to get that one in at the very beginning, just to kind of wish him all the best of luck before we go into all of the more speculative type news stories. I will be popping over to the chat as well. So if you have any questions, if you have anything you want me to talk about, get them in the comment section now. Welcome to everybody who is joining the show. I hope everyone is doing well this evening. Let's get straight on with the show. Let's just do it, shall we? Let's do it. Right, let's start the show off with some breaking news that's literally just come out in the last 5 minutes. And this is surrounding Mason Greenwood. It's probably going to upset some of you because I know most of the people in this community want Mason Greenwood back at Manchester United. And the headline coming out literally in the last 10 minutes from 2 or 3 different outlets in the UK is that Mason Greenwood is apparently edging closer to a summer move to Barcelona. Obviously, he's really, really impressed on loan at Granada in the Spanish league. We know that lots and lots of clubs are interested in Mason Greenwood. He's ultimately gone he's gone to Granada, okay? He's playing there. Sorry, not Granada, Getafe. He's gone to Getafe. He's playing there with little to no bother from the media, little to no bother from the fans. He's gone completely under the radar, whereas we know that in England, it's the biggest news story of the last couple of years around Manchester United, isn't it? Everyone has an opinion. It's toxic. It has it separates the fan base. Whereas out in Spain, he's gone there with his fiance, I think it is, with his newborn child, and they're living what I would say is probably the dream life. They're living out in Spain. They're probably not getting bothered by paparazzi. And to be honest with you guys, if Mason Greenwood was able to move to Barcelona, I think that would be the best move for him. I do, because I just think if he comes back to Manchester United, he's going to get absolute abuse, realistically. Whether you think that's right or wrong, that's up to you. Whether you think that he should play again, that's up to you. I'm not going to go back over all of that again because it's just a matter of opinion. But it's a fact that the second he steps foot off that plane, the Sun, the Daily Mail, the Telegraph, every single journalist and newspaper in the UK will be following him. Every time he goes to the shops, it will be a story. Every time he goes to fill up his car with petrol, there'll be some sort of story. And I just don't think that's good for anybody. I don't think it's good for Mason Greenwood. I don't think it's good for whoever the manager will be then. I don't think it's good for the rest of the squad. I don't think it's good for Jim Ratcliffe and for the new director of football and the CEO. It will be the question Erik ten Hag is asked in every single press conference for probably the next 2-3 years. And I just think that if we can get a good bit of money for Mason Greenwood, I think, letting him go is the correct decision. Yes, he's arguably our best attacker. He's better than Antony. He's better than Sancho. He's better than Pellistri. He's better than Ahmad. He's better than Garnacho. He's better than Rashford. Like, he was our best attacking player, I would say. So obviously it is a shame, but we are where we are. And if, clubs like Barcelona are interested in him, and apparently Barcelona are currently leading the race to sign him, I can't really argue with that. I can't, and I would take the money. But we're going to do a poll, okay? And the question's going to be this: how much is Mason Greenwood worth? Okay, so the question's going to be this: how much is Mason Greenwood worth? If you're watching this back on repeat, you can let me know in the comment section. If you're watching this live, obviously get involved in the poll. So we'll do 10 to 20 million. We'll do 20 to 30 million. We'll do 30 to 40 million. 40 million plus. Right. So get involved in the poll. As I said, if you're watching this back on repeat, let me know in the comment section, how much do you think Mason Greenwood is worth in the current market? I'm going to say he's worth 40 million plus, personally. I think he's got the potential to go to Barcelona at the age of 22 and be there for the next 7 or 8 years. He's better than Rafinha, let's be honest. Like, if you look through Barcelona's team, in relation to the players they have on the wing at the moment, I would say he's better than most of them, really. Obviously, Dembele went to PSG, didn't he? So he's gone. I would say he's definitely better than Rafinha, personally. I don't think Rafinha is that good. Let's have a look. Midfielders, forwards. They've got Ferran Torres, Rafinha, Joao Felix, Victor Roque, and Robert Lewandowski. I genuinely think he's better than Ferran Torres. He's better than Rafinha. He's a different style player to Joao Felix, but, arguably he's better than him. So I think he could easily walk into that Barcelona squad, and I think it would be very interesting if Barcelona were to do that. Obviously, Jude Bellingham has gone to Real Madrid. They've got this English player who's tearing up the La Liga. Do Barcelona now go in for Mason Greenwood to kind of bring in, someone like that? Jack's in the chat today. Hope you're doing good, mate. Jack says, if United inquired about a player with his ceiling/potential, we would get quoted 60 million plus. Shouldn't be any different when selling him, regardless of his off-the-field antics. I agree with you, mate. I do. And I think the proof is in the pudding. As I said earlier on in the show, like, Mason Greenwood has gone to La Liga and he's gone completely unnoticed. There's no protests. There's no one outside the stadium saying, get rid of Mason Greenwood or he's a disgrace. Like, he's gone completely under the radar. And the only thing people are talking about in La Liga is how good he is. Okay? Nobody out there is talking about the situation that unveiled back in England. Now, again, we're not going to go into people's opinions on whether they think it's right or wrong and all the rest of it, because we've had those conversations so many times on this channel. Everyone has differing opinions, and that's completely fine. I'm not going to say that your opinion's right and yours is wrong and mine's right. Like, I'm simply not going to do that. Justin says we should see if we can get Frankie de Jong in return. Mate, I would love to have Frankie de Jong at Manchester United. I really, really would. Jihan says Mason is worth 150 million. He will be the best player in the world in 3 years, along with Bellingham. This is why he's not leaving. Sir Jim is not a fool. Mason can take it if United back him. Mate, I love your optimism. I really, really do. Like, I really, really love your optimism, but he's not worth 150 million. I'm sorry. Like, that's ridiculous. That's the type of money someone like Vinicius Jr. is worth, or Mbappe's worth. And he's not on that level. For me personally, as Justin just said in the chat, we should use this as a bargaining tactic to go to Barcelona and say, we want Frankie de Jong, or we want one of your players. I know we're interested in Araujo, the centre-back. We want one of your players. You want Mason Greenwood. Let's do business. We know that Barcelona are incredibly difficult to deal with. Okay, they are. They're renowned for being a difficult club to deal with. But when you sent a bunch of clowns off to Barcelona in John Murta and Richard Arnold, and they came back with nothing but having a couple of Estrellas and tapas one night, that's all they got. They went off to Barcelona to bring us back Frankie de Jong. All we saw was pictures of them having an Estrella. Literally, there was pictures on the internet of those two in a bar, and they came back with nothing. So our recruitment team is going to be completely different by the summer. It will be Omar Barada, who's obviously been at Man City through their glory years and was at Barcelona before, interestingly. It's going to be Dan Ashworth, who's, of course, pretty much built Brighton and done a good job at Newcastle. It'll be Paul Mitchell, who has done incredible things at Tottenham, Southampton, Red Bull Leipzig, amongst other places. Like, we're going to have an elite level team behind the manager when it comes to summer. And we won't be laughed at anymore in the transfer market, I don't think. Imagine this, right? Imagine you're Barcelona. John Murta and Richard Arnold get off the plane from Manchester. Neither of them have worked in a top football club in their life. Both of them come from a finance background. And you have these two muppets coming out to try and negotiate a deal for Frankie de Jong. Like, no wonder they came back with nothing. They went off to Paris to meet Adrien Rabiot's mother and came back with nothing because they couldn't do a deal with her. Like, they were absolutely useless. The only deal they could do was when they offered such a ridiculous amount of money for Antony in 100 million euros that Ajax were literally, they couldn't believe it. They thought it was April Fool's Day. They literally didn't know what was going on. They said 100 million euros for Antony. He's probably worth about 30, 40. And they took the money and ran. So I'm feeling much more confident about the business we can do in this summer window. I think they'll get rid of a lot of players, which we'll talk about in a minute. And I think they're going to be ruthless. Those are the things that I'm going to judge Sir Jim and Ineos's 25% ownership on, is how ruthless they are in the transfer market. We need to see players like Harry Maguire, Scott McTominay, those types of names who've been here for too long, gone. We need them out of the door. You need something doing with Jadon Sancho, Donny van de Beek, Martial. Like, we need a massive clear out. We're talking 10 plus players. We could go through it super, super quickly here today, guys. And, I'm not a transfer specialist, but if they're not seeing the same as what Manchester United fans are seeing, we could go through a list together right now. And I imagine every single person in this channel will agree with what I'm saying, because we know that these players, a lot of them aren't good enough. Maguire, he can go. This is me being not over the top, by the way. Maguire, Sofian Amrabat, send him back to Fiorentina. McTominay can go. Eriksen I'd get rid of, but I don't think anybody's going to buy him now at the age of 32, and he's only got a year left of his deal, so he probably stays. Antony, I think you've got to do something with personally. I think maybe you loan him out, try and get his confidence back. Martial's obviously got to go. Jadon Sancho's got to go. Who else have we got? There's probably a couple of others I've missed, but there's at least 5 or 6 players that 100% need to be out of the club in the summer window. 100%. Then there's ones that are questionable, like, do you sell Casemiro? Do you sell Rafael Varane? Do we need Victor Lindelof anymore? The list goes on and on and on and on, doesn't it? I think the big one as well in the summer is going to be the goalkeeper position. A lot of people are going to want to know what's going on with him. Let's see what else people are saying in the chat. Apparently Cameroon have just taken the 1-0 lead against Guinea. So at the moment, Cameroon are on route to qualify for the next round. But yeah, we'll talk about Onana now. Just this is a mic drop moment, all right? So just listen to this really, really carefully. Onana, the goalkeeper we just spent 50 million on, has been dropped by Cameroon. People are thinking, oh, so what? The goalkeeper that's replaced him plays for a club in France. You're thinking, oh, okay, French league. What, does he play for PSG? Marseille, maybe? He plays for a club in the 3rd division of France. The 1st division of France is a laughingstock, apart from maybe 3 or 4 teams. The 2nd division of France, I genuinely couldn't even name you a single club who play in the 2nd division. This goalkeeper that has benched Andre Onana for Cameroon plays in the 3rd division in France. I mean, that is embarrassing. That is so embarrassing. I mean, even if it was in England, right? That's the equivalent of a goalkeeper from League One dropping a £50 million goalkeeper. Like, that is ridiculous. Honestly, I'm sorry. That is absolutely ridiculous. And it's absolutely laughable that he's been dropped by Cameroon. And we've got a massive problem on our hands. I'm sorry. Not good at all. Right, let's see what people are saying in the chat this evening. Everybody who's just joined, please smash a like on the video. Let's try and hit 200 likes on tonight's video. We've got over 320 people watching already, which is incredible. If everybody likes the video, we will hit our 200 likes target. So please do smash a like really, really quickly. It doesn't cost any money and really, really helps the channel. So please go and do that now. I will read out some of your comments really, really quickly. Lumen says, Kieran, how come players going to Barca are now flops? I'm not sure what you mean there, mate. I'm not sure what you mean. Fred says, why is it okay for him to play for Barcelona? Because what happened to Mason... The situation with Mason Greenwood happened in England, okay? And it's publicly known business that the English media are some of the most brutal in the world. Anybody who's not in England may not understand that, but the English media are known to be the worst in the world, by way of, they chase people, they follow people in the streets. Like, they're absolutely ruthless. I don't want to give examples because I think it's a bit distasteful, but let's just say anybody who knows, the royal family stuff, you know what obviously happened to a certain somebody who was being chased by the media and died in a car crash. Like, the media in England have been renowned for a very, very long time for distasteful. I don't know. You know what I'm getting at here. And I just think that the fact that Mason Greenwood's gone to La Liga and there's been no fuss whatsoever, surely you can see as a human being that the best thing for him, the best thing for Manchester United, the best thing for the club, the best thing for the fans, the players, the manager, is that he goes somewhere that isn't in England. Because in England, at Manchester United, it's going to be the talking point forever. Put it this way, right? Jadon Sancho fell out with the manager. That happens. It's normal. It happens in a football club. It happens in any walk of life. You fall out with a friend. You fall out with a colleague at work, whatever. The media, every single week for 6 months, ask Erik ten Hag, what's going on with Jadon Sancho? Why isn't he apologising to him? They probably asked him 3 or 4 questions about Jadon Sancho in those pre-match conferences, every single interview for literally 6 months. They would probably ask 4 questions about Mason Greenwood and about Jadon Sancho, and then 2 or 3 questions about football. Imagine what it would be like if Mason Greenwood's here. It's going to be ridiculous, and I just don't see it happening. I don't, but obviously, if you guys want him back, that's up to you. But I think personally, it makes a lot more sense to sell him. He's obviously from the youth academy. He's a homegrown player, and we would then massively benefit in the financial fair play area. We would. 40, 50 million, that would be straight profit because he's come through the youth academy. Just think about it logically, guys. I'm not by any means saying Mason Greenwood's a bad player. I've said multiple times on this channel that I think he's our best attacking player. I think he's a generational talent. I think he can go to any club in the world pretty much and will succeed. But I just don't think when you consider all things that he's going to succeed at Manchester United because of all of the off-field issues that will arise from it. Right, let's move on with the show, though. I don't want to get too fixated on Mason Greenwood because I know, the people who want him back don't really seem to see the other side of it. They just focus on, I want Mason Greenwood back. I don't like Anthony. He's a flop. And I just think, we can't look at things so black and white. You have to look at the whole picture. There's more and more stories coming out this evening about Choupo-Moting to Manchester United. I've said my piece on Choupo-Moting. I'm honestly less excited about Choupo-Moting than I was about Weghorst. I would rather have Weghorst back at United than Choupo-Moting, genuinely. I'm not excited about it. What are people saying in the chat? Somebody's saying you shouldn't have a personal view. I mean, mate, I haven't at any point in this video given my personal view on Mason Greenwood once. I'm telling you how it will be. I'm telling you that the media will follow him every single time he goes to the shop. I'm telling you every single time he goes and fills up his car, there'll be some story spun about it. I'm telling you that every single press conference until Mason Greenwood's no longer a Manchester United player, the press will ask Erik ten Hag solely about Mason Greenwood. That's what will happen. It's obvious. And if you can't see that, then I don't really know what to say to you. I just think that for everybody, it makes the most sense. I mean, there's only one person in the chat who doesn't really seem to understand this. So, yeah. Obviously, that's completely up to you. If you want to be 100% tunnel vision on it. That one person is saying it will never be like that. Mate, Mason Greenwood was back here over Christmas and there was pictures of him going to the shop. I can literally type it in now. Do you want me to type it in and put it in the chat? Mason Greenwood in Manchester. All right, let's type that in. There we go. Here we go. So you've got The Sun, you've got the Daily Mail, you've got the Telegraph, all these different outlets. Mason Greenwood spotted at Christmas, enjoys family at home after jetting into Manchester with his partner, Harriet Robertson. And then there's loads of pictures of them just walking around doing normal things, getting into his car, going into a shop. Like, they literally just follow people and hound people in the UK. It's pretty common knowledge, but obviously, yeah. That's up to you if you don't want to believe what I'm saying. Anyway, let's move on. I don't want to get fixated on that. Right, let's move on with the rest of the show. So there's more and more stories coming out this afternoon. This is coming from Chris Wheeler, and he is reporting that apparently Al Nassr are lining up an audacious bid for Casemiro and Aaron Wan-Bissaka. It says Man United are open to selling Casemiro this summer if they can recoup a chunk of the £70 million they paid for him. Now, the question I have for you lot is, would you sell Casemiro and would you sell Aaron Wan-Bissaka? Let me know in the comment section. Yes or no? I probably would. I probably would, to be honest. Not because I don't think Casemiro is a good player. I just think that, you know, Manchester United, a team that are in 8th place in the table, can't be paying players 350 grand a week, and that's what Casemiro is on. So for that reason, I think we need to cut back our wage bill and try and move things forward. Richie says people forget that Greenwood was trouble before. Right, let me try that again. Richie says people forget Greenwood was trouble before. Attitude in training, late, fined, and problems with England. Yeah, I mean, all you have to go and do is search what Mason Greenwood and Phil Foden were up to on international duty for England. Anyway, those who are 100% in the Mason Greenwood camp are just going to see it as me being mean about him, and it's not. It's me being realistic. It's me looking at it with an open perspective. But yeah, let me know what you think about Casemiro and Wan-Bissaka. Would you sell them both? I probably would, but only if we were to get big amounts of money for them. I think, especially Casemiro, I think he's a world-class player, but at the age of, I think he's 31 now, or is he 30? Let me double check. Yeah, he's 31 now. I think if you could get 40, 50 million for Casemiro, as well as you removing his 350 grand a week wages, I think you have to do it personally, because 350 grand a week in wages alone is about 20 million a year. That is absolutely crazy for Manchester United to be paying out. It's 18,200,000 pounds a year we pay Casemiro. That is absolutely mental for a team that aren't even going to be in the Champions League next season. That is not okay for me. Let's see what else people have got. Romano says, Kieran, would you be Erik Ten Hag out when Onana comes back and he starts over Altay Bayindir? I'm not going to be Onana out. I'm sorry, I'm not going to be Erik Ten Hag out just because he starts Onana. I'm giving Erik Ten Hag till the end of the season, personally. I think sacking him now is pointless. So at the end of the season, I'm more than happy to completely delve into this topic and, look at the season as a whole. Even though I support Erik Ten Hag, I've said this multiple times on the show before. The football we played last season was rubbish. It was. But we won a trophy and got third. It wasn't very good. This season, the football has been terrible, but we can see him trying to play more attractive football. It's just backfired. So, that's my take on it. Veronica says, if you think we should get rid of players on big money, why does that not include Rashford? Oh, it does. It does, definitely. It really, really does. If you've been watching the shows regularly, I honestly believe this, okay? The only players that I would 100% keep at Manchester United in the summer, if somebody said, where they do the keep, buy, sell thing? Yeah? The only players I genuinely would keep in this whole squad, 100%, is Lisandro Martinez. I would keep Kobe Mainoo. I would keep Garnacho. And I'd keep Rasmus Højlund. Obviously, we're not going into youth players like Dan Gore and people like that. Forget about them. From the first team squad, Martial could go. I wouldn't really care. Pellistri, I wouldn't really care. Diallo, I wouldn't really care. Anthony, wouldn't care. Rashford, the same. Mason Mount has done nothing. Bruno Fernandes, I think would be a shame, but I don't think he suits the style of play we're trying to implement. Eriksen's past it. McTominay should have gone years ago. Amrabat, send him back to Fiorentina. Casemiro, world-class player, but at the age of 31, isn't worth 350 grand a week. Aaron Wan-Bissaka, I think is good, but I think is limited in the attacking options. Dalot, I think has been decent this season. I think maybe there's an argument you'd keep him. Malacia, I've not really seen anything from. Luke Shaw, 28, injured most of the time. Would we keep him really? I don't know. Cambuala, I would obviously keep because he's a youth player. Give him a try. Give him a bit of a, he hasn't proved us wrong yet. Johnny Evans will be gone. Victor Lindelof, I think, at the age of 29, I wouldn't be bothered if he left. Maguire, obviously, go. Varane, again, world class, but on 350 grand a week at the age of 30 is ridiculous. Tom Heaton, I mean, I have nothing against Tom Heaton. He's probably never going to play, but I wouldn't, again, be upset if he left. Altay Bayindir, I mean, we've brought him for 10 million and he's not played once, so I can't really sit here and say I'd be sad if he left because I've never even seen him play. I know Onana, obviously, I'd get rid of him. So people who are saying, oh, you don't want Marcus Rashford to go and you don't... I honestly, guys... I honestly would only keep... If someone had a gun to my head, right, and said, keep, buy, sell, or maybe not a gun to your head, that's a bit dramatic, but if it was a keep, buy, sell, honestly, Martinez I keep. Cambuala I keep just because, as I said, he hasn't really had a proper chance yet, and he's looked good from what I've seen of him. Kobe Mainoo I keep 100%. Garnacho I keep 100%. And Rasmus Højlund I keep 100%. Every single one of the other players... If I found out tomorrow that Bruno was going to Saudi for 70 million, I honestly wouldn't be bothered at all. I genuinely wouldn't. If tomorrow I found out that PSG had offered us 80 million for Rashford, I would be happy. I would. I think that, it would be sad a little bit, but in the grand scheme of things, if we want to rebuild Manchester United to be this great club again, I think we need to start making these hard decisions. And I think that, we haven't won we haven't won any notable trophies in a very long time. We've won one League Cup in the last 6 years. How can anybody on this channel today say that these players deserve to stay here? They're playing for the biggest club in the world. They're earning more money than Man City players who've just won the treble. And I don't know. That's my take on it. And I think they've destroyed me, to be honest with you guys. They have. And I know that sounds a little bit, deep, but yeah, I've fallen out of love with a lot of these players a long time ago. And I know that some people will say that sounds a bit soft, but I honestly think, right, the turning point for me was last season, that 4-0 game against Brentford. I was just like, I was so devastated. It hit me so hard. My whole weekend was ruined. And ever since then, I've just accepted that these players aren't good enough. And ever since then, the only players that have shown me any real love for the badge and drive and that they care are the players I've just listed. Rasmus Højlund, Kobe Mainoo, Garnacho, and Martinez. All four of them go on that pitch and give 150%. The rest of them don't look bothered half the time. Anyway, I've gone off a bit off topic there. Richie says, I wouldn't care if Rashford and Bruno were sold. Both are overhyped. Yeah. I agree, mate. I agree. Fred says Rashford is a top player, but his attitude is shit. I would agree with that, actually, mate. I would. I think Rashford is a good player. I do. I just don't think that in this rebuild, yeah. Romana says everyone you just mentioned, Kieran, is not worthy to play for Man United. Yeah, 100%, mate. I don't think so either. I think Martinez is. I think he would die on that pitch for us. I think Rasmus Højlund, yes, he hasn't scored as many goals as we'd like, but he's done very, very well, and he's worked hard. The same with Garnacho. I think at the age of 18 to be doing what he's doing is phenomenal. For Kobe Mainoo to be able to come onto that pitch and putting a better performance than I've ever seen from Scott McTominay, and he's only 18. How can you turn away from people like that? Malp says, don't forget that City bought that treble. They cheated. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see what happens. Right, let's see what else we've got planned for the show. Let's talk a little bit about Benzema quickly. Everybody who's joined late, please smash a like on the video. Let's try and hit 200 likes by the end of today's video. We're only about 80 likes away. So if you give it a quick like now, we will hit that target. Right. Obviously, we've talked about Wan-Bissaka, talked about Choupo-Moting. Let's talk a little bit about Benzema, shall we? I mean, there are stories this evening. I know Dimitar Berbatov has been speaking about it. A couple of other people have been speaking about it, saying that they can see Benzema coming to Manchester United. The thing is, right, for me, I think that Benzema coming to Manchester United would just contradict everything I just said. Manchester United can't afford to be paying people 300-400 grand a week anymore. We're in the position we are because of how badly the Glazers have run this club over the last 18 years. But part of that problem is overpaying on transfer fees and overpaying on wages. Those are two of the biggest problems. And ultimately, that's because of the people they employed to do those jobs, the John Murters, the Ed Woodwards, the Richard Arnolds, the people who weren't good enough and didn't have the CV behind their name in order to successfully, take Manchester United forward. And I think that bringing in someone like Benzema, yes, he's a massive name. Yes, just for the kind of sentimental value, I would love to see Benzema at Manchester United. I think it would be crazy. Just as I loved when Cristiano Ronaldo came back. Just as I did like it when Sanchez joined and we paid him 450 grand a week. Like, there's always two sides to everything. And I think that, do I want Benzema at Manchester United? Yes, of course. I'd be stupid if I said no. But do I want to pay Benzema, £500,000 a week when we're already in an absolute financial mess? No, of course not, because it's stupid. Like, it makes zero sense. The only clubs who are stupid enough to pay those types of wages now are Manchester United and the Saudi clubs. No one else is doing it. If you look at Real Madrid's wage bill, right, one of the greatest, well, probably the greatest, one of the greatest teams at the moment, right? This will just completely silence this whole conversation. Their highest earning players are like Vinicius Jr., who's on the same amount of money as Rashford. Just let that sink in for a minute. Real Madrid pay Vinicius Jr. the same amount of money we pay Marcus Rashford. Federico Valverde, one of the best midfielders in world football, is paid less than what Varane and Casemiro is paid. Like, it doesn't add up to me. It doesn't add up at all. We've got a super chat coming in from Fred. Big ups to Fred, mate. Hope you're good. Fred says, a little support for a great channel and community. Thank you for your support, my friend, and thank you for always being here for the shows. I really, really do appreciate it. I'll read out a couple more comments before we end the video today. Richie says, Fabrizio yesterday debunked MUFC Benzema link. Yeah, the thing is, right, mate, I think that the Benzema to Man United story is just one that will keep rattling on until transfer deadline day. Do I think it will happen? No. Do I think it could happen? Maybe under the old ownership. As in, if we didn't have Jim Ratcliffe and all the rest of these people here, I wouldn't be surprised if we got Benzema. That's the kind of deal that the Glazers would do, But yeah, just to summarise that section, would it be incredible to see Benzema in a Man United shirt? Of course it would. It's impossible to say it wouldn't be. Anybody who says no is a liar. Benzema is one of the best strikers in my lifetime. Obviously, I'm only in my 20s, so like I haven't seen, I don't know, the Ronaldos, the original Ronaldos, and the Cruyffs and people like that, and that's before my time. But Benzema is one of the greatest strikers in my kind of time as a football fan. Of course, I would like to see him. Lumen says, would you do a stream to explain the City charges to us? Are they that serious? Yeah, well, there's 115 charges, okay? I'm not going to do a whole stream, but I'll explain it to you really, really quickly. There's 115 charges, and they all relate to sponsorship. It's over a 14-season... Sorry, let me read that again. So it's at the moment, it's just accusations, just to be very, very clear. And it's from 2009 until now. And it's all to do with sponsorships and them overinflating deals. So say they're sponsored by... who's their sponsor? Is it the airline? I can't remember. My brain's gone. Anyway, whoever sponsors Man City, most of the companies are owned by the same owner as Man City. So instead of paying them a reasonable amount of money, I don't know, 20 million a season, they're alleged to be paying them crazy amounts of money and all sorts of different things like that. There's 115 charges and they're all for different things. Is it serious? Of course it's serious. Do I think they'll get away with it? I think they probably will, personally. I don't think they'll get charged. I mean, the fact that Everton have one charge against them and get deducted 10 points. Man City have got 115. They can't get away with it. They need to be relegated. But will that happen? I don't think so, personally. I just think that they'll prolong it. They'll get the best solicitors in the world. They'll have every lawyer on their books, and they'll go into it, like a war. They'll go into it and they'll let's see what else people are saying quickly in the chat. So we've gone through all of our news for today. I'll read out a couple of your comments quickly. Fred says, talk to me about Mason Mount. Mason Mount's back in training, apparently. So is Luke Shaw, a couple of other people as well. You know what, guys? I'm excited to see what these people can do in the second half of the season. I am. I'm excited to see what Mason Mount can do because so far it's been poor. I'm excited to see what Ahmad can do. I'm excited to see what Casemiro is going to be like alongside Kobe Mainoo. I think we have a lot to look forward to in the second half of the season because we're going to get, Martinez back, Varane, Luke Shaw. Like, we'll have our best team very, very soon. And that's when I'll start to be really critical about Erik ten Hag, okay? If we've got a team of Maguire, Johnny Evans, Amrabat at left back, Wan-Bissaka, Eriksen and McTominay in the CDM positions, it's hard to criticise Erik ten Hag because that's not a good team. That's a team that would finish 10th in the Premier League, in my opinion. So as soon as we get all of these players back, that's when I'll start being really critical about Erik ten Hag. I'm going to wrap the video up here, guys. Been a really, really good stream today. Thank you so much to everyone who's joined me. Thanks to everybody who's, contributed in the chat. Before you leave, if you have enjoyed today's video, please do make sure to give it a like. It doesn't cost you any money. It really helps the channel. So please smash a like on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. I'll be back tomorrow morning, as always, at 11 a.m. UK time. So make sure you're here for that. Have a good night, everybody. I'll speak to you all tomorrow.